Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. What's your sober date, bud?
My sober date is 3/11 of 2019.
3/11 of 2019. So you're coming up on 4 years. No, 5 years.
I'm about, let's see, 5 months short of, a little over 4.5 years.
Yep, that makes sense. What were you doing on March 10th of 2019?
March 10th of 2019 is probably like with everybody else. I got high, I got drunk, I got completely tore up because I was turning myself in to get sent to prison. I was supposed to be going to prison. And I showed up March 11th in court. I mean, still messed up from the night before. And I ended up getting a completely different judge from the one that made me sign the 5 years prison sentence. And he told me, he goes, I think you're worth it. He goes, I'm not going to send you to prison. I'm going to send you to rehab. And so God stepped in that day and saved my life. I mean, otherwise I'd probably be in a worse position than what I am right now.
You'd probably still be in jail.
Yep. And I'd come out worse than what I was when I went in.
Yep. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. Where'd you grow up, bud?
I'm from New Braunfels, Texas. And I live in Gerald, north of Austin, Texas now. I grew up down my whole life.
Okay. So how old were you when you discovered alcohol?
15, 16.
Now, growing up, were your parents together?
Well, no, by the time I was about 6 years old, my parents divorced. And I lived with my dad for most of the time. But then when I hit my teenage years, I moved in with my mom, and then everything went downhill from there. Not saying that it's my mom's fault. It was more my doing than it was anything else.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister who is in recovery as well, and she's younger than me, which I should have learned from her, but she is like 19 years clean and sober now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You would think that the older one would be the one to get straightened up first, but no, not me. I still had to keep doing it my way.
I'm the older one in my family, so it took me, and my brother and sister are not in recovery or anything, but they're not alcoholics. And yeah. I definitely am. I've been since I was 12. I wasn't drinking every night alcoholically, but when I would drink, it would be alcoholically. It would be drinking to numb as opposed to drinking to have fun.
Yes, sir.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfectly sense, because that's how it started out with me when I was in my teens. Because I was not comfortable with who I was. I didn't make friends very well, so that was my way of getting comfortable. Now,
did you find yourself finding friends for the first time when you were like a teenager and drinking?
Yeah, I went out, ran around with a bunch of kids, and we were pretty good friends for a little while I dropped out of school at 16. We hung out a little bit afterwards after that, but kind of just faded off in the distance. And then I just was by myself, and I didn't really go out to make friends, and my drinking got really, really bad. I mean, by the time I was 18, I was already in jail for PI.
For what?
For a public intoxication. Yeah, that alcohol was bringing me nothing but trouble.
And did you discover drugs at this point, or just drinking?
I started doing meth, which back then it was crank, at 16, and I was popping pills at 16. I quit that at 17, kept drinking, and by the time 19 came around, I went back to I was doing cocaine and meth, and every now and then heroin.
Quite the mixture. Was the heroin to bring you back down from the meth and cocaine?
Yeah, it kind of kept me leveled out where I wouldn't get the nods is what it was. So I'd be doing them blasters where you mix it all together and you just be on one roller coaster.
Now, what made you want to drop out of school at 16?
I kept getting in trouble. I was a problem child. I kept getting in fights. I got suspended. I got kicked out of school more than twice. And then I was put in school suspension, and then I got in a fight in the classroom in school suspension, and they were going to send me to an alternative school, and I just told them, you know what, fuck y'all, I'm done, I quit. But I did get my GED. Once I turned 18, I kind of cleaned up from the alcohol a little bit, but I got my GED within 3 months.
Oh, that's good.
But then I went right to the alcohol.
Hard lessons to learn. Now, was that your first time of trying to be sober at 19?
At 18, yeah, it was my very first time. It lasted maybe 4 months. Like a month after I got done with my GED, I went right back out to partying.
Now, was your mom enabling?
I love my mom to death. She, at 16, her and my stepdad are the ones that introduced me to the meth, the crank.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably where, I mean, I had already been drinking and stuff before that, but once I touched that, I'm like, ooh, what's this? And it kind of just went rolling.
And you're not the first person to tell me that either. I've had 130 of these interviews, and I would say there's a good portion of people that they had their first drink or their first use with their parent. Yep. So, it's a tale as old as time. When you're introduced by your parent, you're trusting what I'm about to do is okay for me since you're the one giving it to me because you're the one that I'm supposed to trust the most.
Mm-hmm.
I could see you going into that. Now, were you smoking it?
No, we were snorting it. So that it was just straight hardcore burn to get that nose burn. It was like, God. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't smoke it.
Back then it was crank.
Go ahead.
Back then it was called crank.
Yeah, back then it was crank. That's the stuff they got nowadays. I mean, I don't condone drug use anymore. The stuff they got nowadays, besides because of the fentanyl, ain't shit compared to that the biker drug.
Now, I've heard of meth having fentanyl in my area. Is that the same for you? You heard about that?
Oh man, it is. It's killer over here. It's bad. I lost a sponsee about 4 months ago to fentanyl overdose.
It's man. It's crazy.
It is. It's very sad, and I'm grateful that I had gotten busted with drugs and was sent to rehab when they did send me, because if had that not happened, I guarantee you I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I would probably be dead.
Yeah, you're like me, where you kind of in your 30s you found it, because in my 20s are a blur. I mean, not a blur. I can tell you what I was doing each year. I moved 30 times in 13 years. So I kept thinking, and I kept going out of state, moving out of state, thinking, well, if I'm out of state away from it, then I'll be good.
Yeah, no, because you always tend to run across people that do it, and it's like you attract that kind of people.
You for real do. You find out real fast when you get to a new neighborhood. You go out to the bars, you start asking questions, the next thing you know, you find yourself available for Coke or pills.
Yep.
I used to mix my Coke with Xanax and Roxy's.
Oh.
So that was my mixture that was my way of speedballing, because I never, and I justified my pill use for a decade because I could always say, I could hang my hat on, well, I never did heroin. But I was doing heroin in pill form and not even realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, those the Xannies, man, I did that stuff, but every time I did that, I ended up in jail.
Every time I did, I blacked out.
Yep, because I'd also be drunk as well, and then you mix that with the pills, and shit. Once you black out, I've been told that, hey, man, you did all this kind of shit here. I'm like, what, are you crazy? I was at home. Yeah, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, my worst blackout is I was on the highway, and I blacked out for 60 miles on the highway.
I've done that a few times.
Woke up going 90, like, holy shit, where am I?
I blacked out one time, and I ended up wrecking my car. I lost, apparently was going around the turn too fast, and I just went right off into the ditch. I'm glad I was by myself. But yeah, they have them no prayers driving down the road, and then most time he was one eye closed, praying to God that you make it home. I ain't gonna do it again. And then what are you doing the next night? You're out doing it again. Never learn.
Nope. What makes you think it's so different now as opposed to other times?
For me now?
Yeah, like why do you think it's working?
Do I now?
Why do you think it's working 5 years in now this time?
I believe it or not, you know, my family, my whole life always told me you're a good person, you're smart, you're loved, you're wanted, you're worthy, and all that stuff. And I can never ever accept that. I never believed it because I didn't like who I was. But the moment that judge told me that he thought I was worth it, that's when it's like a weight lifted off my shoulder. I can't believe that it took somebody that I didn't even freaking know tell me that he thought I was worth it. And I owe it to myself, obviously, most of all, to stay in recovery. But I also owe it to the judge that took a chance on me, too, because most judges don't do that, especially with the record that I have. And I got 2 felonies, drug charges and stuff. And yeah, for me getting that opportunity, I'm not gonna squander it.
Now, were you facing drug charges when that judge gave you a break?
I still have the 2 drug charges, but February 17th, I signed for the 5 years. And then they told me that we'll see you next month. And I was trying to get out of it to get into like IOP. But the judge at that time lost a daughter to a drug overdose. So he's like, nope, you're going to prison. It's like, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm like, well, can I plead no contest? Nope, you got to sign guilty. I'm like, are you serious? So I had no choice, basically. So I signed it, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess my life is over. Do what?
No, then you came back after your sentence, and a different judge gave you the break.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna turn myself in. I already had it planned out. I was gonna run to another state and do this and do that. But my family talked me into turning myself in and just getting it over with, because you figure out of 5 years, I'd probably do 2, maybe 18 months. But still, that's 18 months in a freaking prison. And I'm not saying I'm a wimp or anything. I'm a little guy, but I guarantee you I'd probably get in a lot of trouble in there.
Yeah, I would say so. And did you ever have to face any jail time?
I think my whole life I've spent 26, 27, 20, 32 times in jail. A few of them overnighters, a few of them a week at a time, but the most I spent was probably about 2.5 months at once.
What was that for?
That was for about, I think it was 6 warrants for my arrest.
How do you get 6?
Just getting lucky by not getting caught. Just not paying my shit, telling the judge, fuck you, I'm not doing it. To plead a case with them, you have them let me go on I'll pay this much every month, and then not pay it, and then get another ticket. And then it just so happened that I got nice police officers that would be like, oh man, it's just a freaking moving violation, I'm not going to take you to jail for that. But then it'd be another moving violation, another one, and then I didn't pay it. And then finally, at like 6 warrants out for me, 2 different counties, this one officer goes, man, we're not letting you go. You're going in. So it was signed that I had, because I didn't follow through with what the judge had said, that you were going to sit the time out no matter what. And I'm like, so there was no bond for it, because I broke a promise that I promised I was going to keep.
So you grew up in an area where everybody knew everybody?
Pretty much. All the cops knew me, that's for sure. In both counties.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Every time I'd be out running around, there'd be a cop following me, just waiting for me to fuck up. And I guarantee you, I'd fuck up one way or another.
You'd find a way.
I'd find a way, yeah. And even if I wasn't trying to find a way, something would happen. I'd get in a fight, or I'd whistle at some chick, and then she'd throw shit at me, and I get pissed off and slam on my brakes, jump out. Next thing you know, you got 5 cops swarming at me. What the fuck you doing? I'm gonna leave. No, you're not. Shit. I always hung down at the river all the time, so that's another way that the cops knew me, because I was down there drinking and doing all kind of shit all the time. Every day I was down there.
Down, but what is that like?
The Comal River, where next to Schlitterbahn, where New Braunfels is famous for Schlitterbahn. So we got two rivers that go through town, one the Guadalupe and one the Comal River. And I'd always sit down at the Comal River where all the tubers would be at and smoking weed and getting drunk, staying there till midnight after the curfew hours. And then next thing you know, cops show up. What are you doing here, Mr. Saunders? I was leaving. No, you're not. You're leaving with us.
Okay, so that was like a popular hangout before you were even 21.
Oh yeah, I was hanging out there from the time I was 14 all the way till I was 38, just before I went and turned myself into to jail. I mean, that was my spot. Everybody knew me down there. That was always called the White Trash River Rat.
It's quite the nickname to get.
Yeah, and I even got the stupid white trash tattooed on my back because it was free. Nah, I wish I wouldn't have.
I have like 50 tattoos, and there's some you regret, and there's most of the ones you love. So it is what it is at this point.
Yes, sir.
It could be worse. You could be like Steve-O with your face on your back.
There would have been, if I had it my way, there would have been a lot more tattoos that would have been a lot more fucked up. But I'm glad that I either went to jail or got in some fight and the shit never happened, because I was going to be covered with all kind of stupid tattoos.
Yeah, it's fast. It happens. It's a fast progression once you meet some tattoo artists that are willing to do work on you for cheap. Or my wife has a tattoo machine, so we've done a bunch of them just in the living room hanging out. So once you get the bug catch you, and I went from one when I went to rehab with one. That was 5 years ago, and I came home with 16.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
So, but what was I going to say? So alcohol has always been, like, it sounds like, your drug of choice.
Well, once I got picked up the meth and stuff, I dropped the alcohol till I was about 20, 22, 23, somewhere around there. And then I quit the drugs, but I picked up the alcohol. And when I picked it back up, it was rough. I was drinking a gallon of Rich and Rare every 2 days, or a gallon of Viaca vodka every 2 or 3 days, or just drinking from the moment I wake up in the morning and going through 4 or 5 6-packs of Tall Boys a day. I mean, my drinking was pretty heavy.
What made you want to quit meth at 23?
I actually had got in a relationship with a woman that had 2 kids, and at that time I was thinking, well, I need if I'm going to be a family man, I gotta let this shit go. But I basically traded one drug for another. So, yeah.
But we didn't know that alcohol was a drug at that point.
Yeah, I figured, I just told everybody I love beer, so there's nothing wrong with it. But I mean, it just progressively over the I think it was 4 or 5 years we were together, maybe 6 years. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and yeah, and that's what inevitably killed the relationship.
Was your drinking?
Yep, the drinking, and then right near the end of the relationship is when I picked back up the drugs again. It was like 2007. So yeah, 2013 to 2016, 17, 18, somewhere around. No, 2008. I'm sorry, 2003 to 2008, and right there, right around 2008 is when I picked up the drugs again. And I picked it up hardcore.
Now, was the meth different this time? Because you said you grew up with crank, and now the meth today is different.
Yeah, that meth, when I got into the drugs, the meth wasn't shit. I had to do 3 times as much to even get what I wanted. And so then I picked up heroin back up again, and was doing shrooms on top of that. So I was literally a walking fucking zombie all over the place.
Yeah, because I don't want to say it's safe to do shrooms, but I mean, in all things considered, there's worse things you can put in your body than some mushrooms.
Yeah.
But if you're mixing it with dope and mixing it with meth, that's a hell of a cocktail.
Yes, sir. And I was shooting that up intravenously, and I by the time I did drink a lot still, but it kind of cut back because I was basically swapping again. Went from the alcohol to the drugs, and it just
shooting crank.
Huh?
Shooting crank, or just because earlier when you said crank and I said what were you smoking it or and you said you were sniffing it. When you went to the meth, did you go straight to shooting or where you started out small?
I went within about a year. I had went from snorting it to eating it to smoking it, and then within 2 weeks of smoking it, I started shooting it.
Would you see somebody doing it, and that's how you got the idea, or what made you want to shoot all of a sudden?
Believe it or not, it's sad to say this, but my cousin, I watched him get high off after shooting up, and I'm like, I want to try that. And he shot me up, and I'm like, and just started coughing, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I found my new forever drug, and I went from then on, and then started adding the heroin into it, and just, man, it got bad.
Were you able to stay employable?
I was able to stay employable for a little while as an electrician with the company I was working at, but after that, it was on again, off again jobs. And the longest time I did hold a job was at a restaurant in New Braunfels through my buddy, and they were like real lenient with me. I could show up whenever I wanted to. I could do whatever I wanted to, but I stayed fucking high all the time. But I also made sure the restaurant stayed clean because I'd be the only one that'd stay up past midnight, and I'd pressure wash the restaurant, pressure wash the barbecue pits on the outside, clean the grease out of everything. So I guess it kind of went hand in hand. They knew I was doing drugs, but I wasn't stealing. I took care of the place, and I made sure it was always immaculate by the time opening time came up. So
yeah, you had the energy to clean if you were on meth.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was lucky in that aspect to be able to hold a job for, I think it was 4 or 5 years, 6 years, something like that, at that same place.
Yeah, and if it's supporting your habit, then you're not going to want to change anything because you still got your drugs every day. You're keeping your job. You don't have much else to worry about at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And well, and plus on top of it, I was dealing it too, and that's the bad thing. I was dealing it right out of the back of the restaurant in the apartment that I was living in. So I mean, I had an apartment, didn't have to pay rent. I was getting like $450 a week, and I didn't have to spend any of that money on any bills. So I was getting drugs in, turning around and selling it, and I had fucking traffic in and out of that place. Thank God I never got busted that way, but what got me busted, I had less than a pinky nail's worth of dope. And that's what gave me my first felony charge. Second time was just a baggie that had residue in it.
Man, you did get lucky then, because, I mean, either one of those times you could have had a lot more on you.
Yes, sir.
And the residue, it sounds like you just got done getting high if they're finding residue.
Yeah, I did. I had just got done with it because it was in the bag, and I just dumped the bag in my mouth because I didn't have a syringe with me at the time, and I just chewed the whole bag, chewed everything out of the bag up.
So you're the first one I've had on here that would actually talk about chewing it. Now, could you get high from just chewing it and eating it?
It's nowhere near like shooting it up, but I mean, you still get that rush, and you still get that zoomy, the fucking scatterbrain shit.
So you got pulled over, and in the moment, you just ate the rest of what you had before they came to your window.
Well, actually, at that time I didn't have a vehicle, so I was the guy riding around town on a bicycle. I laugh at that now because back then I'm like, man, I need to fucking ride. This shit sucks riding all over town, but fuck it, I'm high, so let's go do this. But I was just down the road, and I went behind a dumpster because I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble with this, and so I fucking dump it in my mouth. But my dumbass throws the baggie back in my backpack. And as soon as I left the parking lot, I got pulled over by a cop, and I'm like, God damn it! And I was like 2 blocks from my home.
That's a funny picture in my head of you getting pulled over on your bicycle.
It happened a lot. Sometimes 2 or 3 squad cars would pull up. What are you doing tonight, Mr. Saunders? I'm riding my bike. Are you high? No, I haven't done shit in about 3 months. My fucking eyes bugged out of my fucking face. Yeah. Man, I wasn't fooling them.
No, I mean, obviously they were searching you each time they pull you over.
Pretty much every time.
So you got a felony for having just residue?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're strict on it. Even any paraphernalia that has any kind of residue in it is an automatic felony.
Wow, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, New Braunfels they got special cops. they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that area has like a lot of people on meth. If you're in a small area, but you're able to like sell out of your house or your apartment, it's going to keep you high for longer as opposed to wanting to change your life.
Yeah.
Like,
as long as I put all that shit. Go ahead.
What do you need to change for if everything else is still panning out your way?
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking at that time, I'm like, well, my life's pretty fucking manageable. I mean, then it became, wait a minute. I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. What kind of life is this shit? But it got to the point where, I mean, I did want to quit, but I didn't leave that spot. And it got so bad to where in the morning from after being out all night, I would force myself to go to sleep. But then I'd get up in the morning and I'd be crying with a needle in my fucking arm because I wanted to quit. And I'm shooting up meth and heroin. Then I'm going throughout the day. And then by the time the night comes, I'm drinking a bottle of whiskey to freaking try and pass out. And that was a vicious cycle for the last 2 years of my drug addiction. It's just almost every day like that. And it got pretty fucking sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, drinking every day is one thing, but also needing to feel like you have to shoot each day. And it's a powerless feeling that you would only know if you were in your shoes. And plus, you were being enabled every day by being able to sell to everybody that you knew, and they're keeping you going and keeping you high because it makes you feel like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong here. I'm not the only one that's getting high.
Yep. We had 5, 6, 7 people in the apartment. All of us just sticking a needle in our arm and everything. And if I couldn't get myself, I'd toss it over to my buddy and say, all right, do it. Get me. And it's like, I mean, now looking at it now, I'm like, what the fuck? It still stings a little bit how fucked up my life was. And I thought it was just fine and dandy.
Yeah. Well, you don't know anything different unless you start changing. Then you start realizing there's more to life besides just getting high.
Yes, sir.
You know, it takes what it takes for us to realize what we can and can't do and what we should and shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go through any kind of program?
I went through a court-appointed rehab center, which is actually now 20 minutes from where I live now. So I went in there. Actually, I had to sit in county for March 11th. They arrested me and put me in county. I had to sit there till there was a bed ready. Basically, I had to wait 45 days before they let me in. And I was still reeling from having withdrawal symptoms from the heroin, because at that time, before going to court, I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing meth this time. I'm just doing straight heroin. And so I did it, and I'm stuck in the holding cell for 2-3 weeks, just not holding cell, but the detox tank, detoxing from heroin before they put me in general pop. By then, it was only another 2 or 3 weeks, and then they said, okay, well, we're ready to take you to rehab. And I spent my stay was only supposed to be 5 to 7 months, but it's one of those cognitive self-change rehabs where you gotta be accountable for your actions. Well, I still had it in my mind that I was going to do things my way. My stay ended up being 11 months.
That's quite the stay.
Yeah, but having that happen, I am a lot better person because of it. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I'm able now to sometimes stop myself from letting that impulsive thinking take over. It still happens, but I can also apologize right away. Say, okay, I made a mistake. I will do whatever I can to make it better. That having been in that place that long helped me a lot, and it helped mold me into the better person I am now.
Yeah, sometimes it takes what it takes. I mean, whether it's a 28-day stay or 11th month stay, it all depends on what you're gaining from it and what you're learning from it. And if it took you 11 months to find it, it's better than it taking you, 3 years. You still been able either way, as long as you find it. That's what's the most important thing is you got to find a way to want to be. There's a difference between needing to be sober and wanting to be sober. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you'd wake up every day and you almost needed it. You're like, why am I still doing this? But I need it. I need to be sober. Then you go get high again. The need to be sober is usually for the cops, drug court. It's for the wife. It's for the girlfriend. It's for your family, your mom and dad. That's why I need to stay sober. But until you actually want it, it's not going to work.
Yep, exactly. There's so many times that I tried to quit for everybody else and relationships, and it wouldn't last no more than maybe three months, and then I'd be right back at it, and it's just fucking up again.
Yeah,
now this time, thank God I'm a one-timer so far. Let me knock on wood. I'm not going to say so far. I'm a one-timer for rehab and still going strong.
Yeah, I've only been to one rehab myself, so I can relate to you there. I find my recovery through the groups on Facebook, like I met you, and doing this podcast. I basically, am interacting with somebody else to hear everybody's stories, and that keeps me sober too, because it's a reminder of what my life was like, and I'm constantly talking about it and thinking about it. And it doesn't overtake my mind to where I'm like, okay, I gotta go get high now. It's never even a thought that creeps into my mind. And I'm almost 5 years away from my drug of choice, pills. So it takes what it takes, and it takes it however long it takes, whether you're 38 or whether I was 31. Our 20s were a blur so that we could learn from ourselves in our 30s.
Yeah, and I didn't learn. That's the problem. I always told everybody that I was never going to make it to 40. Had I not gone to rehab, I probably would have never made it to 40. I'm now 43, so I went to rehab at 38, and that's 38. Having to learn a new way to think and all that stuff was very, very difficult for me. But
yeah, rehab's all about routines.
Yeah.
And changing your routine, because your daily routine before was wake up, get high, do it all over again. And not keeping yourself kempt, barely showering, all that kind of shit that goes into being an addict. And then all of a sudden you got to learn how to do your own laundry. You got to learn how to do dishes. You got to relearn everything that you forgot and start building a new routine. And I think in that 11 months, you learned a new routine for your daily living to where you can still use it to this day at 43.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's a testament to who you really are, though, the fact that you can go 5 years. Because sometimes at 38, you're just going to be like, fuck it. I'm not going to make it to 40 anyway. What's the point? I might as well get high. And instead, you chose to stay sober this entire time.
Yes, sir. And I choose it every single morning as soon as I wake up. Because as soon as I wake up, I remember myself sitting there on the couch, sticking a needle in my arm, and I tell myself every morning, I'm not going to go back to that life. Today's going to be a great day.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down and talking with me today.
Yes, sir.
I know it's not easy to relive sometimes and talk about, but I appreciate being so open and honest about your history with me.
Oh yeah, I'm great. I'm happy to share because there's somebody out there that needs to hear it.
I mean, I wouldn't have listeners or watchers or viewers if they didn't relate.
Yes, sir.
So
Now that I'm actually very successful now too. So I am I'm a licensed electrician now. I'm a certified generator technician and installer, and I'm also a certified solar and battery technician and installer too. So I have gone from getting out of rehab without nothing to, you can't see the house, but I got a wonderful wonderful woman that we live together, and she's got a nice house. We got a nice house. I got a great job that they respect me and they love me for who I am, because I tell them flat out when I got hired, I said, I'm a drug addict. I'm my next drug addict. I said, I'm in recovery. I said, now it's all up to you if you want to hire me. And they're like, well, I'm the only one that has a felony at the company. So I guess that's a testament to something.
yeah, I mean, it's a testament to you not giving up.
No, sir, I'm never giving up. We don't give up around here.
Thank you again, Josh. I appreciate it, bud.
Yes, sir, man. You have a good one. And everybody out there, I love you, and you are worth it. You are worthy of a beautiful life.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Josh.
God bless you, brother.
Bye.